We had some smaller signings and other news from the week. Let's discuss on Fantasy Baseball Today Express. Welcome into Fantasy Baseball Today Express on Friday, February 21st. I am Frank Stanfield, joined by Chris Towers, and let's break down some news and notes from the week. We did have some smaller signings. Justin Turner to the Cubs on a one-year, $6 million deal. He's now 40 years old. He took a step back last season, only hit .259 with 11 home runs and a .737 OPS. Chris, does Justin Turner matter at all in deeper leagues, and does this make you worry at all about other Cubs players?
So I'm reading it as kind of insurance for two spots. I think it's one, if Nico Hoerner isn't ready for opening day, coming back from flexor tendon surgery last October, then Matt Shaw could slide over to second base. Justin Turner could fill in at third base. Or if Hoerner's fine, he's playing like normal, but Matt Shaw struggles early in the season, it would be his first time in the majors. It wouldn't be surprising. Then Justin Turner can service some insurance for him. Otherwise, I think the likeliest thing is you just take some starts against lefties away from Michael Busch and is just kind of a 300 plate appearance guy. I can see some upside to like 450, 500 plate appearances, but he's probably, even in an NL only league, just a bench guy.
Yeah, and I kind of liked Michael Busch as a corner infielder, but I think I'm going to back off a little bit just because, last year he played every day. I don't think we can depend on that going into the 2025 season. The Twins also signed Ty France to a one-year, $1 million contract, and apparently he is viewed as their starting first baseman. There have been other stories and reports that it's a battle amongst multiple players here, but Ty France is now 30 years old. He's been pretty bad the past 2 years. Chris, does this matter at all for fantasy?
So in 2023, his numbers were bad, but his underlying quality of contact, plate discipline metrics were actually pretty good. And then last year was just a total disaster. Even when he got out of Seattle, went to Cincinnati, a much better place to hit, he still had a sub 700 OPS. So I'm inclined to think that Ty France is more or less finished, but if he's the starting first baseman, he'll be worth a look, certainly in any AL only league, but even deeper categories leagues, he could be a guy who hits 265 with decent run and RBI numbers.
Yeah, and the Twins just have a lot of moving parts. I mean, at first base, it's either Ty France or Jose Miranda. Maybe
Miranda was very good before his back injury last year.
Maybe Edouard Julien is in that mix as well. At second base, there's Brooks Lee, there's Edouard Julien. In the outfield, they signed Harrison Bader, so it sounds like he'll be a short side platoon and insurance for Byron Buxton. And the Twins like to mix and match. They like to use a lot of platoons, so some of their positions might wind up being a headache for fantasy, at least to start the season. The Pirates signed Andrew Heaney to a one-year, $5 million deal. He is now 33 years old. Last season was okay, a 4.28 ERA, a 1.25 WHIP, right around a strikeout per inning. Chris, do you have any interest in Andrew Heaney, and does this affect any potential prospect promotions?
Yeah, I mean, the 1 year he was with the Dodgers is kind of the only year Andrew Heaney was ever much more than okay. He'll have stretches. He'll ring off a couple of 8-9 strikeout games that will get people excited. But I think we know who Andrew Heaney is at this point. Pittsburgh's not a bad place to pitch. In terms of the home park, they should be competitive. I'm not sure they'll be good, but I think the bigger fallout here is probably that it just makes it a little less likely that Bubba Chandler, the team's top pitching prospect, makes the opening day rotation. He has experience at AA and AAA. It's not like he doesn't have the innings where you would think that they need to hold him back. And it does feel a little bit like where Jared Jones was last year, where, I mean, he probably won't be as good as Jared Jones was in spring training last year. Jared Jones didn't allow a run in the spring, but Bubba Chandler is a supremely talented pitcher, one of the top pitching prospects in baseball. And he has the talent to go out and win a starting job in spring training. And okay, maybe they don't walk away from Andrew Heaney and $5 million, but Bailey Falter's not much of an obstacle, and he's currently slated to be the number 5. So I do still think there's a path for Bubba Chandler to be in the opening day rotation. It's just not the clearest path possible.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back right after this.
Yeah, we always find a way back home.
Welcome back in FBT Express. We're breaking down some news from the week, and the D-backs signed Geraldo Perdomo to a 4-year, $45 million extension. And the immediate thought, Chris, is what about Jordan Lawler, one of their top prospects?
Yeah, it's a little confusing. I think the D-backs really like Geraldo Perdomo. He did make an all-star game, I think, in 2023. Has had some like high BABIP stretches where he's been a pretty useful hitter, but for the most part, he doesn't feel like the kind of guy you need to lock in to an extension. So I'm kind of surprised at the move from that perspective, without even getting into the fact that Jordan Lawler is still the team's top prospect, one of the top prospects in baseball, and has pretty much exclusively played shortstop and third base as a professional. Obviously, shortstop now goes to Geraldo Perdomo for a long time. Ketel Marte locked in at second base. The one wrinkle is that Eugenio Suarez is a free agent at the end of this season. So I could see a world in which they just view Jordan Lawler as their long-term answer at third base. And look, he only played 23 games last year. It was a thumb injury. I think he had a hamstring injury as well. He missed some time in 2023, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So like, this is a really exciting prospect, but he's one who has only played 28 games at AAA. So getting him some extra seasoning, despite the fact that he made his MLB debut in 2023, is probably not the worst thing in the world. He looked overwhelmed in 2023 when he was up. So given all that, I don't know if Geraldo Perdomo signing this extension really changes anything for Jordan Lawler's immediate path to playing time, because it probably wasn't going to happen on opening day anyway. It does potentially, like if Eugenio Suarez has a really big year again, do they re-sign him, lock in that stability? And then it's a question of, can Lawler play the outfield? I think there's some things to be concerned with, but look, the GM said nothing about this changes how we feel about Jordan Lawler. You know, if he's ready, the amount of depth we have isn't going to keep him out of the majors, was the quote. So I think it makes the water a little muddy for 2025, but maybe that water was already pretty muddy before this anyway.
Last three news items here. Mike Trout is moving to right field. A combination of Joe Adell, Mickey Moniak, and Taylor Ward will man center field for the Angels. Jose Altuve's first spring game will be in left field. The Astros seem pretty set on playing Altuve in the outfield this season. And Frankie Montas has been diagnosed with a high-grade lat strain and will be shut down for 6 to 8 weeks. Chris, your reaction to those three news items?
Yeah, the average time missed with a lat strain for a pitcher is about 70 days. So that probably means we won't see him until at least May. But, you know, any kind of setback, he he'll also have to ramp back up. You know, if he's ready to pitch in April, he'll still probably have to do a full spring training's worth of games. So
probably June, to be honest.
Yeah, we might not see Frankie Montas, until mid-May at the earliest, maybe June. So yeah, I think it does take him off the board, especially in any league with no IL stash spots. Trout to right field. I hope Joe Adell can handle center field, because otherwise Mickey Moniak is a pretty uninspiring option out there as a hitter. Joe Adell at least had 20 homers and 15 steals last year. It was 207 batting average, but if he could hit 240, that's a pretty useful player. So I hope he's able to handle center field. And yeah, Altuve is going to play the outfield, it sounds like. Even with Alex Bregman no longer in the fold, it sounds like the plan is for him to spend the first week of spring training games in the outfield, and then they're going to see where he is, how he feels about it. They signed Brendan Rodgers to play second base. They have Mauricio Dubon. Maybe Shea Whitcomb could be part of the second base option. I think that's probably the most interesting of the three if they give him the chance. So it's not a ton to get excited about, but hey, we'll take outfield eligibility, flexibility for Jose Altuve.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people will probably still use him at second base just because that's a pretty bad position this year. But, you know, in deeper leagues, having that lineup flexibility obviously can help. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today Express, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.